Hello, Mr. Gheorghiu.
Hello, how are you?
Good, good. Yourself?
Well, we hope to show something interesting today also.
For sure. So this one is a tournament from 1981, which was called All Stars because it was
was a very big tournament in Moscow in 81. Probably the strongest tournament organized in that period, and surely the strongest tournament that I played in my entire career. This one in Moscow.
Why? Because there were only...
It was very strong. I mean, a lot of very strong grandmasters from Soviet Union and from outside. I mean, many other countries. And the tournament list included the world champion Karpov in that time and two or three former world champions.
Former and future. Kasparov.
Yes. Kasparov also played, Smyslov played, Petrosian, and so on, you know. I mean, they had 8 Soviet grandmasters and only 6 outsiders, I mean, from other countries, you know. Yeah, very, very strong tournament.
And you finished undefeated in this tournament?
I finished undefeated. It was a fantastic performance, you know, in that time. And I came, I mean, the best result between the other grandmasters from any other country, you know, except the Russians. It was also a very good performance. But in that time, I was between the first 10 in the world, and after this tournament and after the third American US champion title, I was, for a period, I was the third player in the world. So it was a very good period for myself. Yes.
Best shape to play.
Right. Well, it happened. It happened, but it was a very nice period, you know, for my chess career.
All right. So now.
So coming to our first game, it was against Beliavsky, I think, no?
True. Yes.
Yeah. Well, Beliavsky, no, it wasn't. This
one is Beliavsky is Beliavsky.
With Beliavsky, yes, of course.
Yes.
Well, in that time, Beliavsky was the Soviet champion, and he was very dangerous, especially with white, because he was a very powerful attacking player, and this game was no exception. I played Sicilian with black, which is also a very sharp opening for black, and gives white a very good chance to win quickly in some attacking positions, you know. But it was not the case in our game. But he tried, of course. It would be very, very sharp game and very interesting. We'll see. So this is one of the main positions from Paulsen in Sicilian. And here white comes very quickly. I mean, he is building a very powerful center, very powerful attacking position, and black has to defend very precisely, you know, the next moves. We'll see.
Here wasn't good knight c6 like usual.
No, knight c6 gives advantage for white. I mean, he can take immediately, and afterwards he pushes to very quickly e5, and that gives already a very good edge for white.
So here, if it was like that,
yes, he can take immediately. So, yeah, okay. He can take in c6, and when we take with b, of course, now he pushes e5, and that is clearly better for white. And now c4, you have to go away with the knight somewhere, c7 or b6, and after knight c3, white is always better, because you see white, you know, has always some space, more space, and you have problems because your pieces are still on the starting positions. You know, you didn't move the rook, you didn't move the bishop, you have to castle, and you know, it's much better for white already, you know. So the move order is very important in that line, you see. So you have to play very precisely. d6 is okay, but alternative, instead of d6, was possible to play queen c7, and that, you know, you come to another kind of position, but it's all right for black. It's not bad. Yeah. So after d6, it is a main line, c4, and now, as you can remember, I played bishop e7. Now black has many moves. One of them is bishop e7. This is probably the main continuation. But instead, you can play also bishop d7 with the idea knight c6 later on to take in c6 with the piece, not with the pawn, or b6, first move, b6, bishop b7, and so on. Some other possibilities to play g6, following my game against Beliavsky from Novi Sad in '79. You remember this very, very complicated game that I managed to win somehow with black, and that was a very good success. It's very, very complicated. Okay, bishop e7 is the main line. So after bishop e7, knight c3, castle, bishop e3, he's building the central position as I told you before. Now knight d7 is very flexible for black. Now the idea is to come later on in time like this, at queen c7, b6, bishop b7, and that is the idea for black, you see. But okay, it's move by move. Therefore, it's very important, the move order. And now white shows that he is prepared to play a very sharp line coming right from the opening, you see, immediately. f4 and later on g4, g5, very quickly, you see.
All the pawns.
All the pawns, but if you allow this, it's very dangerous. So you can be in such a position where you don't have too many moves, and white has very strong attacking chances. Okay, so after f4, rook e8, this is a good idea to put the bishop in f8, with the idea later on to have the possibility to play g6, bishop g7. And you can build very nice defense around your king. So, okay, after king h1, bishop f8, and now straight g4. Well, the alternative was to play queen f3 first. This is more usual, queen f3. But g4, okay. After g4, as I told you, you have to be very careful, and the move order is very, very important here, because any move can lead to a very quick defeat for black, So, okay, after g6, he played g5, knight h5, of course, yeah, and f5. Well, f5 shows that white is prepared to sacrifice, let's say, something for very strong initiative. So after f5, everything is almost forced, because now you have to take in f5. If you play e5, it's clearly better for white, because you have no compensation at all, giving your opponent the very important square d5 for his knight. He's coming to d5, and afterwards he's attacking, and black is spectator. You have to look what happens. So instead, you have to take in f5. Now is okay. And he takes with the knight, of course, because he can't take with the pawn, because he loses the bishop from e3. You see? Okay, and after knight takes f5, of course, you can't take in f5, because you lose the knight in h5, and the position is almost finished for black. Black is almost lost immediately. So, okay, knight c5, and here knight d5, and white wants to win very quickly. The idea is to play bishop to d4, and afterwards, if he has time and gives you a check in h6, in a few moves you can resign probably, because the attack is much too strong. So now you have to defend yourself very well with black, starting from here, having also some counter chances against the central position from white. I mean, the bishop from e3 for the moment can be attacked, and therefore black has a counter chance in this kind of position. But everything is already very, very sharp. Immediately after the opening.
Looks very dangerous, these two knights here.
Yes, of course. Now you have to take in f5. Now you have to take e4 first, and you want to take afterwards in f5. Okay, now he plays bishop d4, and is the last moment when you can take the knight. Okay, you must take the knight in f5, and he takes back with the rook. Okay, if you take in f5, after queen takes h5, probably white wins in a very spectacular way.
If you take now with the
yeah, if you take in f5, you lose the knight from h5, and the attacking chances for white is almost decisive, because he threatens already knight f6 check in some moment, after taking in e4, or rook g1, and afterwards knight f6 check, and you resign. If he has two moves like this, the king is is in a hopeless position. So, okay, now bishop g7. This is the best move, and now everything is clear. Black could defend the position, and white has to continue the attack, but it's not so easy. I mean, here he can continue the attack, but we can trade some pieces, and the position will be very balanced. Maybe a little bit even better for black. White has to play very precisely to keep the balance. So now after bishop g7, he took in g7. You have to take with the king, of course.
Why not with the knight?
Because if you take with the knight, you are lost already, probably.
Because you give
he
up
can
this.
take, yeah. He takes already in e4. He can also go back with the rook. Is also very good. But let's say if he takes there, yeah, and if you take in f5, he takes back, and if you take back in f5, after knight f6 check, is finished. Knight f6 check, and you have to move king g7, queen h5 is almost made. In 2 moves. The knight in f6 is terrible. So, as I told you, the position is very dangerous, continues to be very dangerous. And okay, he took in g7. I had to take back with the bishop, with the king. And now he took in e4. You have to take back, of course. And now it was,
A surprise?
the last moment where white could go wrong. I mean, he could play, for instance, queen f3. After queen f3, you can take in f5 because the position is more or less all right. I mean, he has to lose a tempo, and after taking in h5, you have time to move the queen, for instance, in e8. And you threaten already a check in e1. That saves the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, here it's enough probably to have equality for black. Or even maybe even better, if you arrive to give a check in e1, you don't lose and you have a small chance to win with black. You see. But okay, he didn't take in f5, and he didn't play queen f3. He took immediately in f7, and that gives equality. I mean, it's a little bit better for black, but not enough. So now everything is forced. King takes, queen f3 check, now king back, and now he took in e4. Black won a pawn, but it's not enough to win the game because white has a very active position. Now queen e6 check, of course. King h8. Now again he could go wrong. If he took in d6 first, it seems very good. Yeah. But if he takes in d6 after queen f5, black is f5. Black is clearly better because he threatens to give you a check in f3. Now you don't have check with white, you see? And if he arrives to play rook f8, white is probably lost because the king is in a very dangerous position, the white king, you see? Mm-hmm. So, of course, he didn't take in d6. And he played very well, rook f1. And now he threatens to do this, as I told you before, and now you can't move your queen in f5, and white is clearly better, much better, because the knight in d5 is, has a fantastic position, and the knight from h5 is a little bit out of play.
Yeah.
So, okay, again, the best move here is rook d8, and after rook d8, probably he misunderstood a little bit in the last moment. He was thinking that white is almost winning here, see? But after b3, b5, the game is very sharp again, but even, no? So after queen e4, you take in c4, he takes in c4, and queen e5. And he's forced to take. I mean, he's forced to trade queens, you see? So, okay, he trade queens. I mean, now rook f7, again, very good. And again, the best move here, if you lose a tempo, you have a very unpleasant position with black. But fortunately, you have the move knight f4. Knight f4. And now has no time to play knight f6, threatening mating h7, because he's mate himself in d1, you see. If he plays knight f6, is a very bad idea, because you receive mate in d1. Rook d8 mate.
So he attacked.
Yeah. He attacks, but he's mate first,
He's mate first.
Yeah, so he has to take in f4. Yeah, you take back, and after rook f4, the endgame is completely even, and he proposed draw, and I had to accept. That was very sharp game, probably one of the sharpest of the whole tournament. And okay, the game was drawn. But it was very, very interesting Sicilian, very interesting game, of course. So it was a little bit funny because afterwards, immediately afterwards, the former world champion Tal, he was a spectator and he came to us and said, jokingly that the position was very, very sharp, so he couldn't himself understand at all what happened. Of course, we had the,
You said
it was a very
he
nice
didn't
joke.
understand what happened.
Yeah, of course he understood. But he was joking and okay, it happened.
Interesting. But talking about Tal, he didn't play this tournament.
He
right?
didn't play. I didn't really understand why. Probably he had some health problems because he had to be invited. If they wanted a very strong tournament and you have Tal who could play, of course you invite Tal.
Yeah,
It was very unclear. Probably he had some health problems.
So he was just
He
watching
was
the
a
games.
spectator. Yeah. He was coming to each
VIP.
round and so on. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
So
Thank you, Mr. Gheorghiu.
you're welcome.